The study of God's Word. For whatsoever things were written aforetime or in the past, that is, God's earthly program for Israel, were written for God's heavenly program, the church, for our learning, that we, the church, through the patience and comfort of the Scriptures, might have hope, to anticipate with pleasure the hope that God has with us. Strong's Concordance, Romans 15:4. Lesson 13, week 13 of 52, Joshua 12 through Judges 7. Last time we saw Joshua conquer the promised land with God's help. Chapter 12 of Joshua lists the kings that were defeated by Joshua. Now these are the kings of the land, which the children of Israel smote, and possessed their land on the other side of Jordan. 12:1. The king of Jericho, the king of Ai, the king of Hebron, and many others. Joshua 12:7 through 24. A total of 16 kings from southern Canaan and 15 kings from northern Canaan were slain by Israel. In an area 150 by 50 miles, Joshua defeated 31 kings. There has never been a greater war for a greater cause. The Battle of Waterloo decided the fate of Europe, but this series of conquests in Canaan decided the fate of the world. Henry T. Sell. Now that the land had been conquered from the pagan Gentile nations by the aged commander, Joshua, who's now more than 100, God then used him to become the administrator over the occupying Israelite nation. The last half of the book of Joshua reads like a title deed, Book of Landowners, which it was. After 430 years in Egypt, God began to lead Israel to their homeland, and after many, many heartaches and disappointments because of their disobedience, Israel now occupied the land promised them from the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Israel was now free to till the land, tend to their flocks, have their children, and praise God for his bountiful blessings. They were home. As Joshua began to allocate the land, the now 85-year-old Caleb stepped forward to speak to Joshua, his old friend and fellow spy of the day more than 45 years ago when they searched out the promised land. They were the only two to believe God that the land could be theirs. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land. And I brought him word again, as it was in my heart. As yet I am as strong in the faith this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me. Then I shall be able to drive them out, the current enemies, as the Lord said. And Joshua blessed him and gave to Caleb Hebron because the inheritance of Caleb. Joshua 14:7 through 14. After allocating the 2.5 tribes land east of the Jordan, then Joshua turned to the 9.5 tribes west of the Jordan River. By lot was their inheritance, as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses, for the 9 tribes and the 1/2 tribe. Joshua 14:2. That had been the plan given to Moses from God, and how each tribe would be given a parcel of land according to the size of their tribe, and now it was up to Joshua how to implement it. This then was the lot of Judah, of the tribe of the children of Judah. 15:1. The land allocation was by casting lots, and Judah being the largest drew first. Her location in the south put her next to several enemies, the Moabites, the Philistines, and others, and within their land. Caleb believed God would help drive them out. Judah was able to drive out many who inhabited their parcel of land, but one city that Judah was unable to drive out, probably because of their strategic and highly defensible location on a mountain, was Jerusalem. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out. 15:63. This would become problematic in the future because God had long ago destined Jerusalem to be the capital of his mighty nation and a place where most of the important events in the history of the world would take place. Israel would conquer Jerusalem during the reign of King David and become the capital of Israel, but we are getting ahead of our story. Next, Joseph's two sons inherited large tracts of land. 16:1. Some of the most fertile in Israel, Ephraim and Manasseh, with a part east of the Jordan River. And they drove not out the Canaanites that dwell in Gezer, and serve under tribute. Joshua 16:10. Ephraim was given a large territory, but like Judah, they did not drive out all the pagan squatters, and allowed them to remain so they could force them to pay tribute. This would prove to be a grave mistake, and they would pay for it dearly. The children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle. Joshua 18:1. Joshua chose the central location of Shiloh to set up the tabernacle, which would remain here for the next 369 years, a symbol of God's blessing on Israel and the focus of the nation's worship as it had been since its inception in the wilderness of Sinai. It now had a home, albeit temporary. This is a picture of Shiloh, where the tabernacle sat for 369 years until it was destroyed by the Philistines. Next, the land allotment for Benjamin, for Zebulun, Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and Dan. Whereas Caleb's inheritance was allotted first, Joshua, ever the gentleman, waited till last. When they had made an end of dividing the land for inheritance, the children of Israel gave an inheritance to Joshua, the son of Nun, among them. Joshua 19:49. Consistent with his humble nature, Joshua asked for a piece of land within Ephraim, Timnath Serah, which was both mountainous and lacked fertility. He built a city and lived out his life there. The Lord had used him as a spy, a commanding general, an administrator, and finally a city builder. He was one of Israel's most respected patriarchs. Shortly after Moses received the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai, he received instructions concerning the cities of refuge. In the ancient world, vigilantism was widespread, So God did everything possible to prevent it with his chosen nation, especially during the cases of accidental deaths. Speak to the children of Israel, that the slayer that killeth any person unawares and unwittingly may flee thither, and they shall be your refuge from the avenger of blood. Joshua 20, 1-3. 6 cities were chosen on both sides of the Jordan River. On the west side, Kadesh, Shechem, Hebron, and on the east, Bezer, Ramoth, and Golah. They would foreshadow the one of whom the psalmist spoke. Christ is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. Then came near the heads of the fathers of the Levites unto Eleazar the priest, and unto Joshua the son of Nun, and unto the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel. And they spake unto them at Shiloh, in the land of Canaan, saying, The Lord commanded by the hand of Moses to give us, Levites, cities to dwell in. And the children of Israel gave unto the Levites out of their inheritance. Joshua 21, 1-3. All the cities of the Levites within the possession of the children of Israel were 48 cities with their suburbs. Joshua 21:41. These 48 cities were donated by the 12 tribes and scattered throughout Canaan as places of residence for the Levites, who owned no parcel of land themselves. That way, any Israelite in the country was no more than a 10-mile walk of a Levite, one who knew and could explain to them the law of Moses. Then Joshua called the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half-tribe of Manasseh, and said unto them, You have kept all that Moses the servant of the Lord commanded you, and have obeyed my voice in all that I commanded you. You have not left your brethren these many days unto this day, but have kept the charge of the commandment of the Lord your God. And now the Lord hath given you rest. Return you and get you unto your possession. Joshua 22, 1-4. The 2.5 tribes who wanted to settle on the east side of the Jordan River had promised Moses they would help their brothers to settle the land on the west side. They did so, and Joshua praised them for their dedication. The weary soldiers now returned home after the 7-year struggle to occupy their land, and finally they could settle down and begin to enjoy the fruits of their labors. Joshua 22:8. Because the 2.5 tribes on the east side of the Jordan River felt isolated from their brothers on the west side, they built an imposing altar on a high hill. 22:10. It was seen as an act of apostasy, however, because the one true altar was in the tabernacle, which was located at Shiloh. And the children of Israel heard of it, the whole congregation. They gathered themselves together at Shiloh to go up to war against them, the 2.5 eastern tribes. 22:12. Fortunately, the eastern 2.5 tribes abandoned their project, and the thing pleased the children of Israel, and the children of Israel pleased God, and did not intend to go up against them in battle, to destroy the land wherein the children of Reuben and Gad dwelt. 22:33 and 34. And it came to pass, a long time after that, the Lord had given rest unto Israel from all their enemies round about, that Joshua waxed old and stricken in age. 23:1. The aged warrior and peacemaker gave his last message to the nation of Israel, first to the leaders and then to the people. And Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem, and they presented themselves before God. And Joshua said unto all the people, Your fathers dwelled on the other side of the flood, that is, the flood crested Euphrates River, in old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham, and they served other gods. 24, 1 and 2. Joshua gave the nation a history lesson, beginning with the call of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their Egyptian bondage, and Exodus. He reminded them of their wilderness wanderings and crossing Jordan into their land, but concerned that they might become complacent. He uttered these words, Now therefore fear the Lord, and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served, and serve ye the Lord. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua 24:14 and 15. Perhaps the most quoted, well-known, and loved of any Old Testament passage concerning the servanthood of believers. And it came to pass, after these things, that Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. Joshua 24:29. The only person to ask God to extend daylight for 24 hours, Joshua 10:13, which he did, was dead. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath Serah, which is in Mount Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gash. 24:29 and 30. Joshua was buried in his hometown, on a hilltop in the parcel of land given his tribe, the traditional site of his entombment on the right. It is also recorded that the bones of Joseph, which he requested to be brought with the Israelites when they left Egypt, were buried in Shechem. 24:32, not far from Joshua's burial site. Joshua's death and burial brought an end to the age of the great patriarchs of Israel. From Abraham to Joshua, Israel had a series of strong leaders. What would they do now without one? The death of Joshua connects the books of Joshua and Judges. It was likely written by inspiration by the prophet Samuel, who was a writer. 1 Samuel 10:25. It bridges the gap between strong military-type leaders like Moses and Joshua and a system of loosely knit confederation of local leaders called judges during a period of 305 years. Now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, Who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first, to fight against them? Judges 1:1. The Israelites were obviously concerned, though they had invaded and occupied their promised land, as God said they would do. They had not driven out all the pagan tribes, which caused them fear that the Canaanites who lived among them would rise up and defeat them. Their solution? Ask the Lord. what to do. And the Lord said, Judah shall go up. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. And Judah said unto Simeon his brother, Come up with me into my lot, that we may fight against the Canaanites. And I likewise will go with thee into thy lot. So Simeon went with him. Judges 1, 2, and 3. Having no strong central leader, the two largest southern tribes combined their forces and together attacked the Canaanites who lived among them. And Judah went up, and the Lord delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand, and they slew of them in Bezek 10,000 men. Judges 1:4. So far, so good. And Judah went with Simeon his brother, and they slew the Canaanites that inhabited Zephath, and utterly destroyed it. Also Judah took Gaza with the coast thereof, and the Lord was with Judah, and he drove out the inhabitants of the mountains, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. And they gave Hebron unto Caleb, as Moses said, and he expelled thence the three sons of Anak. Judges 1, 17 through 20. And the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem. 121. Neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of Bethshean and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo. 1:21 through 27. When Israel was strong, that they put the Canaanites to tribute and did not utterly drive them out. Judges 1:28. Against the direct command of God, the Israelites accepted rent money for the land from the Canaanites instead of driving the pagans out. The other tribes did follow God's command, right? Neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites, neither did Zebulun, neither did Asher, neither did Naphtali. And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountain, for they would not suffer them to come down to the valley. Judges 1:29 through 34. When Israel had both the spiritual and military God-given ability to drive out the enemy, they didn't use it. They accepted the status quo. They got lazy, and it cost them dearly. By not doing as God commanded, they now were in their land, but surrounded by those who would destroy them if they got the opportunity to do so. Satan had definitely won this round. God's reaction, and the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel. And he said, Because that this people had transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I will also not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died. Judges 2:20. God's answer was that because they didn't obey him, he would not be with them as he had been with Joshua. Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand that spoiled them. Then the Lord was with the judge. When the judge was dead, they followed other gods. Judges 2:16 through 19. Israel repeated this cycle again and again. God gave them a leader. Israel obeyed him until he died, and then they reverted back to idol worship, and then God would raise up another judge. Israel's first judge was Othniel, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel, and went out to war. Judges 3, 9 through 14. Ehud, but when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, 3:15 through 30. Number 3, Shamgar, which slew the Philistines 600 men, 3:31 to 4:3. Deborah, a female judge, and Barak, 4:4 to 5:31. Number 6 was Gideon. Behold, I will put a fleece of wool on the floor, and if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth beside, then shall I know that thou shalt save Israel by my hand. Judges 6:11 to 7:15. His army was reduced from 22,000 to 300 men to show them God was in the battle with them. However, he walked by sight. We walk by faith. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Next time, the remainder of the book of Judges, the book of Ruth, and the prophet Samuel. We're going to look at Judges 8 through 1 Samuel 3.